Transforming the former sanctuary at Annunciation of the Lord Parish included searching for a new life-size crucifix and finding it at an antique shop in small-town Quebec. Father John Licazar packed up his vehicle and went to get it in person. The 110-year-old crucifix, originally from St. Cecile Parish in the town of Trois-Rivières, but to suit its new home, some gaping wounds, like the shoulders and knees, which were very graphic, would be resculpted, remaining powerful but not disturbing in the sanctuary. Leg scourges, the torn knees with exposed bones, the torn shoulder wounds would all be resculpted. The pierced side wound would be moved, and the facial expression and skin tones would all be renewed by our artist Pauline.
During the Mass, the crucifix serves as a visual focus of Christ's passion and death, reminding us of the sacrifice Jesus made, dying on the cross for our sins.
The arms are currently up in the workshop being rebuilt. When they are ready, we'll bring them here and match them up, and then we're going to plaster over and finish some of these joint areas to minimize the visibility of the connection. We're also going to reduce some of the severity of his wounds. As you can see on this one, the wounds are quite graphic. We're going to tone that down a little bit, but still keep it appropriate for prayer and contemplation. The colors are going to be different. Here on the knee, you can see the wounds are very graphic. Again, we're going to tone that down somewhat. On the legs, I've already begun removing some of the scourge lines, and I've sanded it. I'm going to now replaster that so that when it is smooth and ready, it'll be ready for us to apply new coloration in accordance with the Church's wishes. The shoulder and arm connection is resculpted with a blended epoxy material. Then it's a process of adding thin layers of new plaster to the legs and the arms, sanding each to make them very smooth to the touch. New spot plaster is applied and then smoothed by hand until the knee area looks natural again. Some of these areas where we have diminished the severity and the graphic nature of the wounds have now been sanded down, replastered. When that hardens, I'll be able to sand it down by hand with a 400, maybe a 600 grit sandpaper. There are many chips, peels, and cracks throughout the corpus that require being patched and gently sanded. The entire statue will be sanded at some point so that the primer can sink in and the paint will adhere permanently. It's important to get the plaster very smooth because imperfections will show more under the high altar lights. Pauline custom blends the paint colors so the shades and highlights can then be applied in layers. The lance wood was removed from the high chest area and resculpted near the fifth rib as depicted in the Shroud of Turin. Without original molds, the new elements are hand sculpted with epoxy and slightly increased in size to be viewed from nearly 30 feet away. The injury is being added after the heavy bruising on Jesus' shoulders, chest, and ribs.
Next, the blended skin tones are applied to the detached arms, and when ready, the many shades of blood and bruising are added at and beneath the crucifixion wounds. Christ's once ashen face is given a more realistic skin tone and a peaceful expression. It's also important to have continuity throughout, and even though some areas aren't readily visible, they're painted with equal care and detail.
Outside, the final spot sanding on a few problem areas on the wood of the cross, and then a deep, dark brown stain for inside the sanctuary. And Delivery Day is the actual feast of the Annunciation, with all 3 parish priests from the Companions of the Cross helping lift the heavy crucifix into place high atop the scaffolding. And when the installation is complete, the scaffolding removed, the new sanctuary is ready for Holy Mass that week, leading up to Easter Sunday.
Now, the position of the body is really of death. His head is slightly bowed to one side. And just like when we have with Mary and the angel, the angel speaks to Mary, she says, yes, that's the fiat, right at that moment. That's what we wanted to capture for our church, the Annunciation. With the cross and the crucifix, it's the idea this is just that moment when he gives up his spirit and he dies for us. We thought about it and we prayed about it. How do we have the resurrection with a crucifixion? And the way we tried to do it was we painted the body with the same skin tone as Mary, life. So it kind of ties it all together. But that's sort of the sense of it. Even in death, there is life.